Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Deborah. And yesterday I showed you my completed journal and I finished it up, and it was mentioned that I was going a bit fast with how I did the binding. Now I like this binding, but it's pretty messy, so you may not like it. I think it looks lovely because I've used this French linen and I think it ties in really well with the rest of the journal. So I thought I would take the time to show you what I did in detail, so that if you do want to use that binding method, you can. And of course, remembering that I made this up yesterday, I haven't seen this anywhere. I was just looking for a different way to bind the journal, and that's why I decided to do it this way. So this is the journal, and I'm sure if you've had a look at yesterday's video, you've seen that. So there's a fair bit of room and a fair bit of rawness on the edges. So I'll show you how I put it together so that if you do want to use one, you can. Now I've got 3 pretend pieces of paper here. So these are my journal pages basically. You could also do this. Oh, that one's got stuff printed on it. We don't want that. Let's just do 2 and I'll see what else. If I grab another one. Just hang on while I grab another piece of paper. I didn't realise I had writing all over that one. Just take the edge off here. So I also think that you could adapt this in other ways. Now I know that there is the tab binding, which is where you take the 5 tabs and you fold them so that you've got everything is captured within the tabs, but this is just different, just my own method. I don't know, we'll think of a name for it, will we? So these are 3 pieces of journaling. Now, as I said, if you had a single piece of paper, you could do it. You don't need to have the double fold. So this is what I did, and I'll just show you. I took one of the pieces. So this is not a signature, just a folded piece. And I cut a piece of fabric to fit along the spine. I'm just going to cut one here. It's just a bit of scrap fabric, so I can use it to show you what I did. And I'll just cut it down because these pages are little, but that was around about the size of fabric that I used on this journal. So I think it's about 2 inches, yeah. And then I took it to the sewing machine. Now I'm not going to sew it, and I put it on the outside. Now when I put it on the one side or the other of the center fold, I determined which one I wanted to put it on. So for example, with this one, I put it on the front, that's the piece, because here I've got all of this and I didn't want to sew that together. So that's why I put it on that. And then this one here, I put it on the front piece, and again, not on the back piece because I had that lace there. So I was lucky that it worked out that where I sewed it onto just happened to be good for what I had in my journal. But if you are going to try and do something like this, then consider that before you start. So I got this and I put it onto the journal here, and then I sewed. So to simulate the sewing, I'm going to pin it with my pins. So I just opened the journal up like this, and this is I'll mark the center fold so that you can see it. So that's the center fold there. And then I took this piece, and if I was going to sew it onto this piece, I put it just the other way on top of the center fold. So I'll just pin a couple of pins in here to simulate the stitching. Now you could hand stitch this as well. I don't think it would work with glue. I think it wouldn't be strong enough because it's going to take a fair bit of strain. And then after I'd sewn through that, I folded the piece back together. And that meant that I had this piece of fabric flapping there. So you need to do at least 2 of them, because if you just do one, you've got nothing to sew it onto. So again, that's my center fold. I worked out which side I wanted to do it on, and for this one I'm doing it here because obviously there's nothing on these, but I think this will give you the explanation if you're looking for that. Now they don't have to be on the same side. So with this one here, I've got it on the other side. So I'll just show you. These are the two pieces. Now this piece of fabric I've put on the top, and this piece I've put on the reverse side. So when you're sewing that, I'll show you, you need to sew through the center fold here. I've got the pins there to hold it, but this is the center line, and that's where you should sew, as close to that as what you can get. And then I put them together. So I put them together, lined up the pages, and then I sewed through both pieces of fabric. So as it got thicker, it became harder to get the fabric, or to get the sewing line close to the edge. Now in this instance, that's where I sewed, as close to that edge as what I could get, so that when I open the journal up, you've got the sewing pieces of fabric there. And then I'll just do one more. So just cut it the length of the space again. So I'll put this one on here. So we'll pretend that this is going on here and do our pretend sewing. Now for stability, I made mine the length of the page of the journal, my strips of linen. So that would go there. And then you need to make sure that everything is opening in the same way. So if it's not, then you need to turn your piece depending on what you want to achieve. And then I put this one on top. So I didn't sew all these at once. I did them one at a time. I don't know why. You possibly could sew them all at once, but I wanted to kind of see it working as I went through, because I just made it up. And that created this spine of fabric. Things falling out of there. So you can see through here, I've got several layers of that fabric from where I've sewn it. I've sewn it onto the piece at the front, then I've sewn it down the spine. Now, as I built up each layer, you can see there's only one stitch line on here, but on the back there's multiple, because I just kept sewing through that piece every time. And with these little ones, I cut a piece of fabric the length of them, or not quite. I actually had a little bit left over. So I used that to put on here. And with these ones, I nested them together. So there's two pieces there, nested them together. Then I sewed through all of it down here so that it went onto there. And then I took it, and because this was getting quite thick in the back here, I've had to leave it with some, a fair gap through there. So about 1 centimetre or so gap. Actually, it's probably, no, not 1 centimetre, sorry, 1/2 inch. Actually, it's more like 3/4, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in here. But I don't mind that, because some of them are closer to the spine, and as this spine got thicker and it wouldn't go closer to the edge, the foot of the machine, I just ran with that. I just thought, well, that's what it is what it is, and that's what it's going to do, because that's the kind of look that I wanted to achieve for this particular journal. And then at the end, I sewed this seam binding on here, so that when I put it down, because I wanted, it's got a lot of things hanging off it and whatnot, this journal, but because of that, I can actually pull that round the back. See how that's pulled round the back now? Let me get that in an angle that you can see what I'm talking about. So it sits up here normally. It's got quite a wide thing on it, but if you want to, you can pull that around so that it's more curved, or you can pull it the other way. Depends what kind of look you're going for. So I've pulled mine around the back like this, and then tied up my seam binding. So once the seam binding, it's sari silk, not seam binding. Once the sari silk is tied up, it's not going to cause an issue. The journal's not going to open. You can see here that it's just going to be all held in like that. So I thought that was quite nice, given the nature of this particular journal. I think that looks good. You may not, but I like it. So I probably will do it again, I think, on something else where it warrants it. With this, with lots of layers and laces and bits and bobs sticking out, I thought that it was a good thing to do. And as I said in yesterday's video, I didn't want to do some standard binding. I didn't want to bind it with the wax thread and then put a, you know, a book cover or some sort of made cover on it. I wanted it to just be very organic like this. And I really like this little zipper pull tag that I've got on here. I almost want to pull the zipper down every time I touch that. So that is how I made it. And I hope that that helps. And if you're looking for more explanation, then please get in touch with me. You can send me a message on my Facebook group, String Along. You can join that and send me a message. You can also contact me via my Etsy shop. You can send me a message there, or you can leave a comment here. Or you can email me or even snail mail me. I do have all my details in the video description below. So that is the first thing that I wanted to show you today. And now I'm going to show you something else. I also wanted to show you some of the books that I picked up the other day. So these are Russian books. Look at that spine, isn't that beautiful? This one is quite old and, you know, it's falling apart, but I still love it. It's an 1881, this one. It's just lovely. It's so ancient, but it's got really nice, and they've all got Russian text in them because they're Russian books. So I really like that one. This too is from 1949, and I asked the girl who was selling them, could I have some that had diagrams and tables in them? So she went through and found me some with beautiful diagrams. Look at that, and lovely charts and tables, because I really like that sort of stuff, and they're the kind of books that I look for when I want to buy some. Again, that's really nice. Not too thick, that one, but still, and it's also a larger book. This here, this is, what's this one? I think this is a mathematics book as well, but I can't read Russian, so I can't tell you. But I'm pretty sure this is from 1962. So this one is a bit newer, but I couldn't pass it up simply because of the diagrams and the tables and the charts and things that are in it. Nearly every page has got that. I'll have to look up what it's about, but I think it's some sort of maths or, you know, science book or something. And this one here, I'm pretty sure this is a mathematics book as well. This is from 1947, this one. And again, full of diagrams and charts and things. So that's, oh, put it this way, look at that. They're like logarithm tables. In fact, they are. I can see logarithm, sine, cosine. So there you go. They're in Russian, not the numbers, but obviously the font is lovely. I really love good font. So that's like a logarithm table there. Plus in the back, it's got all these other bits that I haven't even thought to look in yet. So that's another one. I've got a whole heap more, but I'm just showing you a few. And then this is a math book from 1946, which again has got really nice tables and things and beautiful coloured papers, really pretty. So there's some new books that I've got. Now this is a pension book. Unfortunately, it's got sticky tape on it because it must have been splitting, and now the tape is taking some of that surface off. But I'm hoping I can decorate it up and turn it into a little envelope embellishment for my junk journal. Just need to pull this off too. It's because it's been splitting, and it's just a cheap plastic thing that the government would have given out, I'm guessing. And it's actually from Hampshire, and it's a pension book. You can see that there, made in England. And I found it in amongst my mother-in-law's things. So I'm guessing that she picked it up or somebody gave it to her from England. It's also got a tear at the front here. I'm going to start with some washi tape to try and repair some of these bits on the back and that, because I don't think it's going to work if I don't repair that. It's just going to rip more. So I thought this washi tape might be something that could be used. I'm not sure if it's going to cover that black on there. Will it cover that? Kind of. Now, I'm going to the craft shop tomorrow to get some more double-sided tape because I've just run out. I'm down to using this one. But I will pick some more up tomorrow at the craft shop if I remember. Hopefully I will remember. I don't want to cover the important pieces, which are the embossed parts where it says made in England and all of that. So I can't see the point of using it if I cover all that up. But I do want to cover this or stop this from ripping more, so I'll put this down and then hopefully it's going to work for me. I may turn that inside, but for now I'm just going to cut it off and put another couple of layers down, because if I put 2 on the back of this, it's going to be fine. I don't think I need any more than 2 though, because that will go too far down. Let's see. Yep, I'll just put 1 more down here. And also tomorrow I'm going to buy myself a new pokey tool. My other one hasn't turned up yet. I'm confident it will. I'm confident it's hidden somewhere in a box or a tub, but I just need one, so I thought I'll just get a second one, and that way I'll have 2. So when I lose one, I'll have the other one. Alright, I want to get this up the same way. I don't necessarily want them in the same order though, so I'll move this along a bit. Got a bit of a crease in there. I'm not sure I'm going to get that up, so I'm just going to leave it. So I won't be sticking this into a journal. Actually, it's a really good size for a travel notebook in terms of looking at it. I think it'd make a good addition to that. I'll just be putting it in there, and that way I can pick it up and look at the back and the front. I'm not sure how old it is, but it's got to be fairly old, surely. I'm also covering the inside here because the address, her address was written in here. I'm not sure why, but it was written in here. It's not hers because she was an Australian. I know she did travel to England though, and it may be something. We have a person that we know who used to do antiques, had an antique business in the UK. So maybe it's something that he gave her while she was over there. I'm not sure. I'm just placing that washi, trying to get it straight without any bubbles this time. Cut around the curve. I've got that, I can use it as a template. Now I need to put some on the where it's folded as well, because it's very damaged there. Maybe I'll change to this little one and put that along here. I might come inside with that too because it's got a bit of damage there, so I may as well continue on and put some here. That still will shut. The clip still works. The top of the clip seems to have gone, but the actual press stud still works, which is great. So there you go. Now I seem to have secured all those bits that were about to fall apart, and at the same time I've maintained the reason that I like it, which is this here. I think I have to put something on top of this because that's quite rough. Now I don't like this, so I want to put something on top of it. I'm looking at what I've got here that will go on top. What about this? That will fit there quite well. Okay, yeah, that looks good. I don't know why 29, but why not? I'll leave the washi tape down though, because it'll stop that tear, and I'll just glue this one over the top of all of it. So what I've done is I've got one of the Tim Holtz hardware heads, so you can see there, and it's a what's called a Phillips head. It's meant to mimic a Phillips head screwdriver. It's not quite focusing, and I've put that on just with some of the Helmer's glue, a big blob of Helmer's glue, and I'm not going to try it yet because I want to let it dry. But I think there was enough surface area on that piece that was there on the press stud where the top had come off that this will adhere. And I'm quite happy with that actually. I've rescued it from what was surely going to be the tip if anybody else got hold of it. But you know, I went through things and was made sure I was there when the boys were going through everything so that I could grab out what I wanted. And they were actually quite good. They kept saying, do you want this? Do you want this? Because they know that, you know, I love things like this, and also that a lot of the stuff that we went through I can recycle in my junk journals, which is what it's all about. So thanks very much for joining me. Hopefully you now know how to do that binding, and if you don't know, please ask and I can give you some more tips. And I will see you tomorrow in the next video. This is Deborah. Cheers.